All right. I know I don't like the gabber, but I think I can do that. As the deer and for waters, do we have music? No.
Alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. You alone are my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit my strength, my shield. To you alone may my spirit yield. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you.
Would you pray? Would you pray with me? Give us, Lord, the courage to enter this moment in time into this annual conference of your disciples, into this time of grace. Lord, give us the courage to enter in. Give us, Lord, the courage to enter the possibilities that lies before us, like shells on the seashore, or waiting to be discovered. Lord, give us the courage to enter in. Give us, Lord, the courage to enter into the task and challenge before us in a spirit of exploration and generosity, in the spirit of your Son, Jesus Christ. Lord, give us courage to enter in. Give us, Lord, the courage to enter into the ideas and suggestions to be voiced and hear them with the open and receptive ears and alive to the wisdom they contain. Give us, Lord, the courage to enter into this your presence, to be carried along by your power, reaching out to save us. Lord, be a center, foundation in our life. All together rely on you. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. This is the Holy Christian Conference. We discern our life together as an annual conference. As you all know, this is 160th years since the first West Wisconsin Conference organized it. And as a Wisconsin Annual Conference, this is the 45th session of Annual Conference. Where is God telling us to go? How can we serve our conference in the sight and the will of God? What do we miss? How can we voice on behalf of the least and lost and last? Am I listening from God and other sisters and brothers now? We live in a principle of majority rule, yet the majority rule requires that the minority abide by the will of the majority. However, the principle that the willingness of the majority to permit the minority to have their say before any action is taken. So we respect mutually to each other in this conference. And as a presiding officer and bishop, do carry a maximum effectiveness for the whole conference matter in front of us as a business. And all legislative items are our public domain and important to deal with us together. We will do our best to inform at all times to what is before us for consideration and on a board. And many of our members are new to this process so that we can enable others to have a full opportunity to express their position at best. So at this moment that I'm going to invite a first comer in this annual conference, would you raise your hands? First comers. Would you give hands to them to welcome to this family? Our conference is a multicultural, racial, lingual, intergenerational conference. Many speak English as their second language, including your bishops. So we need to offer gracious space and hospitality, those in different situations. And I know the conference is required of us, the grace and generosity in all the time. We will guard correctly the parliamentary process. So we have a parliamentarian and our chancellor in behind, and assistant bishop Steve Polster is right behind. And of course that our servant leader, Amber Wilbur, as secretary is here. So we know everyone is not an expert in parliamentary process. So we're going to probably require to help each other. And then hopefully we will perfecting it each other. So United Methodists are called to move perfection at virtue, right? So I hope that you all say, yes, we will do it. Yes, we will. So let me invite now organization of our annual conference so that our secretary will guide us to roll call and setting a bar and all the business. We're going to start that.
Thank you, Bishop.
Amber.
I welcome you to this 45th regular session of the Wisconsin Annual Conference. Roll call for this session of the annual conference is taken at the time that you registered. You received your name tag and packet, and your attendance at this session of the annual conference was recorded. And following the procedure provided in the Book of Discipline, it will be reported in the conference yearbook and journal. If at any time you need to leave this session during the conference, please indicate that in writing to your district superintendent. Bishop, the first action we need to take at this session of the Wisconsin Annual Conference is to designate an area known as the Bar of the Conference. The Bar of the Conference is the official seating area which is reserved for the use of lay and clergy members of the conference, and it's where the members of the conference need to be when they vote on items or motions before the conference. Only members of the conference and some other folks whom we will name in just a few minutes may be seated within the bar of the conference. I move that the bar of this conference now be established to include the round tables on the floor of the Marriott Hotel's Conference Center, the platform at the front of the room, and the conference secretary's tables to my right.
So motion is in front of you. Is there a second? Okay, seconded. All right, probably, is there a discussion? No, then those in favor, would you raise your hand? A lower hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Our motion is carried.
Now that we have established the bar of the conference, we need to give some special persons permission to sit within the bar. Bishop, I move that the president of the Wisconsin United Methodist Foundation, Rick Sharan, have voice and vote on all matters as a lay member of the 2014.
Right, motion is in front of you. Is there a second? All right, seconded. Any discussion? Right, those in favor to say aye. Those opposed say nay. All right, motion is carried. Thank you.
Bishop, I move the following persons be given the privilege of sitting within the bar of the conference with voice. All clergy members from other annual conferences or denominations who are serving United Methodist churches or ministries within the Wisconsin Conference. Conference speakers and guests that include Jim Griffith and the Reverend Dr. Young Ju Kim of the Korean Council of Churches. Representatives from various general church agencies and programs, United Methodist colleges and seminaries, and the United Methodist Publishing House, who have come to make presentations on behalf of their agency or institution. Guests who will be making presentations or receiving recognitions throughout the conference, vice chairs and other members of conference boards, agencies who are not members of the annual conference but who are present to facilitate the presentations made by those boards and agencies or to provide information to the annual conference related to the work of those boards and agencies. And Michelle Vernig, Conference Communications Director. And I have a note here that our conference rules provide that the lay directors and coordinators of the conference staff who come within the guidelines of the Book of Discipline are voting members of the annual conference. Michelle does not come within those guidelines. However, Nancy Diener does come within that guideline.
All right, motion is in front of you. Is there a second? Yes, seconded. Any discussion? All right, those in favor, would you say aye? Aye. And those opposed, say nay. All right, motion is carried. Thank you.
Bishop, I move the following persons be given the privilege of sitting in the bar of the conference without voice or vote. The Episcopal Administrative Assistant, Cindy Sharan. Regional Office Administrators, Barb Franken, Barb Ridgely, and Sue Olson. Note that Sherry Malone is a lay member of the annual conference elected by her congregation. A little applause from Bashford. Conference registrars Karen Lamry and Angela Ulrich. Conference computer support specialist Pat Faulkner. Conference communications assistant Amanda Ray Rauer. Service department manager Katie Hepner. Conference archivist Lynn Lubkeman. Program and arrangements committee members who are not conference members. Members of the Commissions on Religion and Race and the Commission of Status and Role of Women who are present for the purpose of monitoring this conference. Seminary students related to the Wisconsin Conference who are certified candidates for ministry. Supply pastors who are serving churches in the Wisconsin Conference. Members of the Spiritual Formation Resource Team received his approval prior to the distribution will not be allowed. And new this year, you probably noticed when we were gathering for worship, we have a very tight agenda, so we will not be making verbal announcements at the end of our plenary sessions. Oh, come on. That's fun. If you would like to include an announcement in our PowerPoint, which will be shown at the end and beginning of our plenary gatherings, there are announcements forms. They are bright blue. They are located at the center of your table. We ask that you complete them and put them in a basket to my right at the assistant secretarial table so they can be included in the PowerPoint. Please remember all announcements are to pertain to this session of the Wisconsin Annual Conference. New this year also is a prayer table, and it is, could you stand up if you're at the prayer table? There it is. That is our prayer table, and there will be people posted there. If you have any prayer requests, would like to have prayers on your behalf, or just want to talk about prayer, there will be people from the spiritual formation team seated at that table to help you. If you have volunteered to serve as an EMT or medical assistant at this annual conference, you should have picked up a Red Cross sign at the registration area. This sign should be placed at your table so you can be easily identified and found if needed. Members of the Program and Arrangements Committee, under the leadership of Susan Bresser, are available to answer any questions that you have about this conference session, and will try to assist you with any problems or difficulties that may occur. I would invite members of the Program and Arrangements Committee to please stand so people recognize who you are and can seek you out if they do have questions.
Okay, would you stand up, our P&A, Program Arrangement Committee members?
A few here.
Okay, good.
They're hiding.
Thank you.
And finally, audio headsets are available at the Audio Control Center over this way for those who are in need of hearing assistance. The service is available both in the plenary area and in the worship area. And Bishop, that concludes the organizational items for this annual conference.
Thank you, Amber. Excellent. So we're going to move on to that implication team that we need to establish for the annual conference business. Would you introduce, Amber?
And we have a slide for that. I move that these people who are listed as the implication team members be approved and serve on this team during this session of the annual conference.
All right, that the name in front of you. Is there any discussion? Okay, all right. Those elect these people as an implication team, would you raise your hand? Lower hand. Those who are not, raise your hand. Okay, okay. They are elected as an implication team. Maybe we might read the name, Secretary. Would you do that?
Okay. And I'm sorry, I might slaughter this one. Listuel and Jensen
Mensah.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be our chairperson, clergy member. Summer Frostlin is our youth representative. Gordon Lind is the cabinet dean. Jason Minke is the Discipleship Leadership Council representative. Deanna Shimko, lay leader. Bill Steimeling, lay member. And Carrie Krebs-Wiegenest is the Council of Finance and Administration chairperson. Do you want them to stand also so people can see them?
Would you stand up, those who are elected it one? Okay. All right, give our hands to them. Thank you. There's a matter of implication. They will work behind of this conference. So thank you for your commitment. We're going to move to the procedure recommendation to limit debate. That's the agenda, or committee is coming with the recommendation. So hopefully this will be. Microphone in podium.
I'm Dan Dick, the Director of Connectional Ministries. Bishop Jung, brothers and sisters of the Wisconsin Annual Conference, I bring to you a motion that has been recommended from our Program and Arrangements Committee and the Cabinet, and it reads, due to the full agenda and severe restrictions on time at this year's annual conference, the Program and Arrangements Committee and the Cabinet recommend limiting debate on action items to 3 speeches for and 3 speeches against. This would not apply to points of order, points of information, questions, or clarifications. We further recommend that we strictly follow Conference Rule 2.3.9a, which reads, without consent of the annual conference, no person shall speak longer than 3 minutes, nor more than once on any motion or questions. We will be using a traffic light format to monitor time, and microphones will be cut off at the 3-minute limit. This recommendation may be reconsidered for any action item by a majority vote of the annual conference, and the conference rules, which require a 2/3 vote, may be reconsidered for any action item. This is the motion, Bishop Jung.
All right. Do you understand what is the motion in front of you? So, is there any discussion? Yes. Microphone 5, right behind.
Lynn Scott, clergy. Could you put the motion back up there for a moment? I didn't have time to write this down. Thank you. I would like to amend the motion by deleting the portion. It says we will use a traffic light format to monitor time, and delete, and microphones will be cut off at 3 minutes. If I have a second, I'll speak to it.
Is there a second? Yes, second, please speak.
Sounds extremely disrespectful about living in community together with that statement. It also somehow does not feel like a welcoming, a hospitality, and a sense of discerning community. And so I would like to amend that we would delete that. I would be glad to write that out. I haven't had a moment to do that. Thank you.
All right. So the motion is amend to strike out that section. That's the amendment. It's in front of you. Why don't you repeat about that, Amber? Let's hear together again. We may wait, but Lynn, would you clarify a little bit more of which part?
Clarify if you're cutting off the whole last sentence or just the microphone being cut off.
I'm deleting beginning with the word "and" in that sentence. And microphones will be cut off at 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, so the last line would now read, we will use a traffic light format to monitor time, period.
Okay. All right, that's the portion. Amendment in front of you. Is there yes, discussion? All right, microphone 5. Microphone 5.
Leonard Larson, Lake Street, Lay. A question. The statement is that for particular things it can be reconsidered. What is your process for that?
You would hold up the orange card and get the attention, and then you would be recognized and have the opportunity to ask that the recommendation for this conference or the rule be set aside.
All right. Is there any more discussion on this? Okay, are you ready to vote for the amendment to delete the last line in front of you? Those in favor of the amendment, would you raise your hands? Lower hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Oh boy. Lower hand. You test me.
Good start.
Okay. All right. Again, do we have tellers ready? because it's almost a half and half. Well, let me just test it in my eye. You trust my eyes, probably. Okay, all those in favor, would you raise your hand? All right, lower hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. It is defeated. So, main motion is in front of you. Is there any discussion? All right, those in favor, are you ready to vote? Seems like it. Okay, those in favor, would you raise your hand to adopt this? Lower hand, those opposed, raise your hand. Lower hand, motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you, Dan. Well, you saw my smile, so when you are, very jestful and energetic, and I will extend the time. That's the bishop's rule, right? No? If someone challenges, that's a problem, but... So don't feel you're bound by, okay? We are living with a deep respect each other, so we will handle as we go together. I think that's my spirit. Thank you. Well, George Kafer is our new agenda chair, and I'm going to invite him to come and guide us this agenda.
Thank you, Bishop. Brothers and sisters in Christ, I as printed for adoption by conference, understanding that this is a working document that may need to be amended throughout our proceedings.
Okay, agenda is in front of you. Okay, I don't think we need it. Oh, maybe we may need a second. Is there a second? Okay. Are you ready to vote for the adopt the whole agenda? Of course, there is some modification will happen. Okay, those in favor, would you raise your hand? Lower hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Lower hand. Okay, motion is carried. George, thank you.
And Bishop, I also submit action items 1 through 7 to be placed on a consent agenda and voted collectively rather than in a series, unless there is any items the body wishes to handle individually.
All right. The consent calendar, you know the item about action item number 1 through 7, which is informational. So this is a motion in front of you. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion, all right. Are you ready to vote? Or those in favor to adopt this? And raise your hand. Lower hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, no one. Motion is carried.
Thank you, Bishop, and to all those who helped put the agenda together this year.
All right, George Kafer, I'm looking forward to work with you. Thank you. We're going to invite nomination committee chair, Deb Hastings, where she is. All right. Would you come to the podium? Yes. That because of lighting, I always not able to see this side. So if you feel you're ignored during the plenary, please even kind of give me attention. And also I will see the same thing in this part, in the front side, that I, as a chair, need to really command that you need to be really show your attention to me so that I can see all the members here. Okay, Deb, lead us.
Good afternoon, Bishop Jung and the annual conference. I'm Deb Hastings, pastor at Tomahawk and Spirit United Methodist Churches and the chairperson of the nominations committee. And you have in your packet, as the bishop mentioned, or Amber mentioned, the nominations report. And I would invite you to take a look at that report during the sometime during the conference. And if you would note that there might be any discrepancies, that you would come to me and let me know so that we can put a revision out during the conference at about 2:20 on Sunday afternoon when we ask you to vote for the report. Also this year, a little bit new, we have, will be up on the website sometime during the conference, we have our self-nomination form, or nominate others. It was in the Wisconsin e-News, but it's also going to be under the important links part of the website. We're really excited. Karen Lammery, our nominations secretary, has created that for us. So instead of the Gifts and Passions form, will now be online. You can submit it online, and we're very excited to have that now up and running very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. It is an important process that you heard from her, that it is such a diligent work that we do together. There are lots of heartfelt commitment that we require for the conference work. So hopefully you all be attentive about that, what leadership that we are electing together. To come from, and we will invite our guest.
I'd invite Dr. Rector to come forward, please, at this time. On behalf of Bishop Jung and the Wisconsin Conference, we extend a very warm welcome to you, Dr. Lillian Rector. Dr. Rector is the president of Garrett Evangelical Seminary, and prior to becoming president, she served the Garrett Evangelical community as academic dean and as part of the Garrett Evangelical community for more than 27 years in total. She is the first layperson to be appointed president. Dr. Rector, it is an honor and joy to welcome you to this session of the Wisconsin Annual Conference. We want to thank you for being here, for being with us, and especially for your willingness to share your message this afternoon with the ladies' session. So would you bring us a word?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. It is indeed a privilege and honor to be with you as well, and it's great to be in Wisconsin. Bishop Jung, and to all gathered here, I bring warm greetings from Garrett Evangelical, and I especially want to take this opportunity to thank you for your leadership as Bishop of the Northern Illinois Conference, and to thank you for your service on our Board of Trustees when you were there. Bishop Jung was always encouraging us to be an even better seminary, and so wonderful to hear you preach this afternoon. Thank you for that. Just three things I want to say quickly. First of all, I'd like to say how very proud we are of our alums who serve in the Wisconsin Annual Conference and of the impact that you are making, have been making, and will continue to make. And also to say that we give thanks for all the ministries represented here in the Wisconsin Annual Conference. Secondly, I want you to know that Garrett Evangelical is renewing and revitalizing its partnership with the local church and the annual conferences. We know that we have to be collaborating together very closely in order to prepare and equip the kind of leadership that the world needs today and that the church needs today. There's just no way for us to do this separately. We must be working together in better ways. Secondly, I want you to know, or thirdly, I should say, I want you to know that Garrett Evangelical is understanding itself as a servant seminary, and we believe that if we are committed to being a servant seminary, then we can surely have a place in God's purpose, and not only for how we are interacting with each other within the walls of the seminary, but how we're serving the Evanston community, and more importantly, how we want to serve the local church in the annual conference. So I want to say to you that if there are any ways in which you think we may be of assistance to you in your ministry, in your development, any ways in which we might be helpful, please do not hesitate to call upon us. We want to learn more about how we can be of assistance to you. And I'd like to close with the words of Paul to the church at Philippi and say to you that our God for every remembrance of you and for the ministries to which you have dedicated your lives. We are praying for God's wisdom, for the peace and grace of Jesus Christ, and the sustaining power of the Holy Spirit to infuse all that you do here in these days. So thank you so much for this time, and blessings.
Let us welcome our Dr. Rector again. Thank you. Our laity session also will welcome her and this evening. Let's move on to the hearing about the budget, 2015 budget presentation. The Kerry, our CFNA leaders, to come up to the podium.
Will our PowerPoint be available?
Yes. Yeah.
There's always a danger in being one of the first to present. We'll get it. Okay. Make some light. We were wondering about this dance floor, Bishop. Were we supposed to dance for apportionments?
All right.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm Carrie Krebs-Veganost, and we'll get started, and hopefully our PowerPoint will catch up with us. I am currently serving as the chairperson for the Council of Finance and Administration. I'm going to direct your attention, especially since we don't have the numbers on the screen, to a couple of different things. If you would pull out your conference workbook, there's a summary of the 2015 budget on page 19. The following pages include the itemized budget for your information if you're wondering how all these things lay out. And then even beyond that is all the churches that have paid 100% apportionment or have increased from the previous year. You'll also notice that in your packet of information that you received today or at the pre-conference meeting, we've prepared a narrative budget that has a graph that shows where all of the money goes throughout the conference budget, and so you can take a look at that. Excellent. There we go. Okay, so those are the page numbers again. But the first thing I'd like to do is say an incredible thank you for your generosity in this last year and the years before that towards conference apportionments. I am a pastor of a local church, and I know how tight things are right now, and the choices that you are making between sending apportionments or doing the ministry in your own context, which makes our thanks from CFNA so much more profound. Let's give ourselves a round of applause for the money that we have given towards connectional giving. And here's some words about where we've been and then where we're headed. So we ended 2013 with a lower than expected return on apportionment giving. We were at 80.5. And part of the reason we made it is because we asked agencies to reduce their spending, but this did have an impact on our cash reserve going into this year, 2014. One of the difficult decisions we as CFNA had to make was how much general church apportionments we would contribute. So we decided that we would do 100% of our jurisdictional commitment, but then everything for general conference would need to be at 82% unless there had been specific giving towards one of the areas of general conference giving or general church giving. And so actually the Black College Fund and some others ended up at over 100% because of those special gifts pre-designated. We ended 2013 with $80,000 revenue over expenses, and this is truly because of the stewardship of our local agencies that underspent their budget. Yeah, let's congratulate and thank them. This is where we are to date. In 2014, in January, February, March, and April, and now May, you can see what our apportionment returns were. Let me give you some comparison numbers. In 2013, at May, we were at 29.6%. For 2012, we were at 28.7%, so pretty comparable. But if you look one line up to where we were in April, that was significantly lower than we had been in the last 4 to 5 years. So we were a little concerned at that point. So we give thanks that numbers really picked up for our May returns. All right, let's get to talking about 2015. And there's a conference policy. I've brought this up last year. Mark Geishart brought it up the year before, but here we go again. The policy is that the CFNA is restricted in the number of, or the total amount of budget that we can bring to annual conference based on what has happened in the years before in terms of returns. Now, only CFNA is restricted to this policy. Whatever happens here at annual conference, you can increase or decrease the budget at your enjoyment. And my pain, I think. But anyway, and so this is what this policy means for this year. The 2015 budget that CFNA is bringing to vote at this annual conference had to be at least a 2% decrease from the 2014 budget. How do we come up with this budget? The first thing is that CFNA drafts something called a plan for ministry and then asks every board and agency in the conference to fill that out. They do an estimate similar to what your church budget or your home budget is. What are administration costs going to be? What are special events that are coming up? And then they give those to us by our February meeting. We look at them, we revise them, we send them to the cabinet, we send them to the DLC, everybody looks at them, takes their piece, decides what needs to be cut from them, discusses them at length, and then they come back to CFNA. The cabinet is the last who gets it before CFNA, and so they have the big picture. They can kind of look throughout the conference and give some reflection, and then CFNA meets again to discuss the budget, and we prepare the budget for annual conference. And so the budget that I'm able to present today isn't just my doing, though it would have gone a lot faster had I done it by myself. But rather, it's CFNA's work, the collaboration of all of our boards and agencies, and the DLC. We've all had a piece and discussion in this budget. So let's take a look at where our budget is. Remember, it had to be 2% less than the 2014 budget. So it's a reduction of $138,000. But keep in mind that from those plans of ministries, we actually had to cut $500,000 from what was actually requested. I need to note that the money that is being requested for the restructuring proposal is not in the budget that CFNA is proposing. Will be an additional $90,000 to this budget. So let's take a look at what some of this looks like. We thought it would be helpful to have a comparison to some previous years so you'd know what had been spent and what had been proposed. And so you'll see that 2013 was a 0.8% increase from prior years. 2014 was a 0.7 increase. 2015, our proposed budget is a 2% decrease for a total budget of $6,810,162. And here's the other slide, and this is the last. This is to show what the CFNA presented budget is, and then compared with the addition of the $90,000 being asked for the restructuring. And you will note that the request for apportionments has only increased 0.8% between 2012 and 2013, and that's less than $60,000. So I'll leave that slide up for your interest. As Bishop, is there time for discussion at this time?
Just presentation. So
just presentation.
Yes, I think if any question you have, probably I might entertain question, but not the debate of the whole about budget. All right, yes, I will recognize microphone 2. Just a question, not a debate.
Bob Blackburn, clergy, Parfreyville. A question. I believe we were asked to give input as local churches regarding how well we did with apportionments and why we fell short. Can you say anything about why we only paid 80.5%, which I believe might be the lowest percentage since the merger?
That we only paid 85% to what?
Apportionment giving was 80.5%. Can you say more about why that happened, why it's so low?
I think there were several factors, and our cabinet has been working on some of those and discussing those with local churches. I don't have the specifics before me.
Lisa, you might have some other answer?
As Carrie said, there's a variety of reasons. I mean, some of our churches are struggling very much financially. Others, there's conflict within the congregation, which has raised concerns. So there's a variety of reasons. Sometimes we haven't done as well as we should in terms of educating people. And when I say we, I don't just mean Carrie and me. I mean all of us in this room and many others who should be communicating to our local churches, here's what we do as a connectional church. So there's a variety of reasons, and I honestly don't think, for the most part, those reasons have particularly changed over the years. I think perhaps we have more churches that the financial concerns is more of an issue than what it was perhaps prior to the recession. But there's still a number of different reasons.
All right, thank you. Any other? All right, microphone 3.
Forrest Wells, Janesville, Cargill. If the last slide could be put back up, then that would be helpful.
All right, the
last slide of the presentation. Thank you. So the budgeted apportionment receipts for 2015, 86.5%. You presented another slide that indicated that in 2013 we received 80.5% and that we're trending less this year. So the question is, what strategies are in place if we come to the 80% mark instead of 86.5? And the reason I ask that question at this point is that it would be good for us to know the implications of not coming to full apportionment receipts.
All right. I think let me lead it this way. You have probably lots of other questions. Why don't I entertain to the write about the question to give to CFNA, and so when we are debate about budget, and hopefully they will answer those key questions, and then we will proceed it for our deliberation. Is it satisfied? Good. So all members, I know that in the budget matter, you have some question and trend or the account or some detail. You write down your question and give to the teller. So the teller will collect that during the session, maybe tomorrow or even future time. And so that CFNA as a leader, they will review and bring some answer, and then hopefully we will also deal with the debate. Satisfied?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. So Lisa and I are sitting right here at the front table. Feel free to come and talk with us. Ask your questions then, and we'll do our best to address them.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. We're looking forward to coming back for the budget. All right, good. I'm going to invite microphone 5 to give some instruction for our Hispanic brothers who received the translator equipment or some other material. So,
Point of personal privilege.
hold a minute. I ordered this Just a minute. Yes, microphone 5. Speak.
Imelda Roman, as Metro South District Lay Leader. I will be speaking in Spanish now. Hermanos y hermanas, Dios les bendiga. Estoy aquí para anunciarles que el equipo de traducción se encuentra en el escritorio de registración. Tienen que llegar a la mesa de registración para buscar el equipo para poder usarlo. Tienen que firmar un documento que va a estar allí diciendo que lo van a regresar al final de cada sesión. Gracias. Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the point of privilege. Microphone 2.
Thank you, Bishop.
Name?
George Affelt, lay Milwaukee Faith. I was one of 6 members of the Wisconsin Annual Conference, actually 5, who 2 weeks ago was at the graduation of Africa University. And I want to tell you that the apportionments make a huge difference. I just wish everyone could have been there as over 500 graduates walked across that dais. They come from 6 different schools and an Institute of Peace, Justice, and Leadership. I was never so proud of being a lay member of the annual conference as I was to be able to tell all of the people working at Africa University that we pay 100% of our Africa University apportionments, and I would like you to go home and share the wonderful work that's being done there with your congregation, and perhaps that will result in some increases in the apportionments paid in this conference.
Thank you for your speech. And I think one correction, that Wisconsin did it more than 100%. So we are the top giver for Africa University. Would you give our hands to that? Yes. Abundance. I'm going to invite restructuring task force proposal be shared to the conference.
Restructured redistricting task force to come and be
task
on the
group
platform.
Members, you come and be with Steve. All right, thank you. Please join them in the podium.
I've already introduced myself once. I'm clergy appointed to the cabinet as assistant to the bishop. This past year, I had the privilege of serving as the convener for sometimes called restructuring, sometimes called redistricting task force. Our task, at the invitation of the bishop, was to research options and make recommendations to the cabinet and bishop. And my purpose in being before you at this time is to place before you the action item titled 2014 action item. It was in the materials received before annual conference. It's action item number 31. It's entitled Redistricting the Wisconsin Annual Conference. Redistricting the Wisconsin Annual Conference. I bring it now and place it before you, not so that we can talk about it or debate it, but rather so that it can be referred immediately to our Conference Implications Committee that we just elected a short time ago. By our conference rules, they must take a look at this because it has a budget impact that exceeds $10,000, negative or positive, in this case, an addition to the budget. Behind me, as they make their way to the stage, you will find the members of the task force who are here at annual conference this year. And I think we have a slide with their names on it. If that could be put up next, that would be great. Each one of us are very glad to have conversation with you as conference members, answer any questions you might have, and to help identify ourselves, we've attached, I think, oh, good. We've all attached red ribbons to our lanyard, so you can identify members of the task force who are here, and they'll be glad to talk with you informally about questions you may have about the work we did. When we come back to this action item and we'll hear from the Implications Committee, we'll take time then to give a more detailed description of how we as a task force and the Cabinet eventually came to bring this specific proposal to you at this session of the annual conference. So, Bishop, on behalf of the task force, I move this action item and its immediate referral to the Implications Committee.
All right, motion to refer is in front of you. Is there a second? Okay, seconded. And is there any discussion? Oh, no, no discussion. Refer, right? No discussion, right? Yes. So that's my learning too. Okay, those in favor to refer this motion to the implication team, would you raise your hand? All right, lower hand. Those opposed? Okay, no one. Okay, motion is referred. Thank you. I hope that you all find it that action item in your packet because you were separated it. So hopefully if you need it, and probably you might request it to the service station or some tellers about it so we can receive that whole resolution. Now let us say this is a time, this is a year that we're going to elect a delegate for the General Conference and also Jurisdictional Conference. And we're going to receive this whole guideline from our secretary this moment. And then hopefully we will test on first ballot and before you have dinner recess, okay?
Bishop, first I would like to direct everybody's attention to action item 29, found on pages 17 and 18 of your workbook, and it describes how we will go about voting for our delegation this year.
All right, action item 29 in your booklet. Yes.
I move the acceptance of action item 29.
Okay, this motion in front of you is the second. All right, seconded. Is there any discussion or clarification? All right, no one. Okay, those then to adopt this whole action item 29, would you raise your hand? Lower hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, no one. So it is passed. Why don't we listen from you, Amber, about this matter so we can follow the step? Can you?
Okay, I have a PowerPoint slideshow that is going to describe how we are going to have our process this year and how you fill out ballots. So if you could watch carefully, you will save yourself time and us time and make your ballots valid. And that's the most important thing. One of the most important tasks of the Wisconsin Annual Conference is to undertake this year the election of delegates to the 2016 General and Jurisdictional Conferences of the United Methodist Church. If you have never participated in a General and Jurisdictional Conference election, you might find the process a bit bewildering, and you might even if you have already participated in the process. We hope this presentation helps you out. This year, the Wisconsin Annual Conference will elect 3 lay delegates and 3 clergy delegates to the 2016 General Conference. The General Conference delegates will also represent our conference at the 2016 North Central Jurisdictional Conference. We will also elect 3 additional lay delegates and 3 additional clergy delegates to the Jurisdictional Conference, as well as reserve delegates in case any of those who are elected are unable to serve. We may take up to 13 ballots to vote our delegation. A person is elected when they receive the majority of the total number of valid ballots cast for that particular vote. The Book of Discipline places certain restrictions on who may vote for the General Conference election, as well as who is eligible for election. Clergy delegates are elected by clergy members, both deacons and elders, in full connection. Associate members, provisional members who have completed their educational requirements, and licensed local pastors who have completed the MDiv degree or the basic course of study and have served under appointment for at least 2 years immediately preceding the election. Lay delegates is much easier to describe. Lay delegates are elected by lay members of annual conference. The color of your name tag indicates your eligibility to vote. Clergy members who are eligible to vote receive yellow name tags. Lay members of annual conference who may vote are wearing green name tags. Anyone wearing colored name tags, other colored name tags, are not eligible to vote in this particular election. There are restrictions on who is eligible to be elected. Only clergy members, elders, and deacons in full connection of the Wisconsin Annual Conference may be elected as delegates. Any lay member of the Wisconsin United Methodist Church is eligible for election, provided they have been a member of the United Methodist Church for 2 years and have been active in the United Methodist Church for at least 4 years. Provisional members, associate members, local pastors, and student pastors are not eligible for election. These restrictions are imposed by the discipline, and we are not at liberty to change them in this election. We'll skip the next slide, Dave, and go on to the following one. This is what a clergy ballot looks like. They are scanned by a computer in order to speed up the process in counting votes. The clergy ballot forms are printed in red ink and have 720 numbers on them. Lay ballots are printed in purple ink and have 100 numbers on them. Those who are eligible to be voted on to vote received a packet with 13 ballot forms inside when you registered and received your name tag. If you are not eligible to vote but received a packet anyway, please return it to the secretary's table to my right. Persons who have identified themselves as candidates for election have submitted biographical sketches and information about themselves. They were printed and mailed to you prior to annual conference. However, you are not limited to vote for those who have submitted biographical sketches. You may vote for any person who is eligible for election. We will be voting by number, and all eligible clergy persons have been assigned 3-digit ID numbers prior to annual conference, and any lay persons who have previously identified themselves as candidates for election have also received a 3-digit number. The lists of these ID numbers are included in the packet that you received when you registered. It's important to note that any eligible person, whether they have identified themselves or not, are eligible for election. Laypersons who have not previously been assigned a 3-digit ID number, who receive 10 votes or more on the ballot, will be assigned an ID number, and we will display those prior to any elections ballots that are taken. Even though the clergy ballot has a place for write-in candidates, now listen closely, there are no write-in votes for the clergy election because every eligible clergy person has been assigned a number. Any clergy ballot which does contain a write-in vote will be declared invalid. Marking your ballot. You must use a number 2 pencil to mark your ballot. At the top of the ballot is a box where you to indicate, and I will tell you that number prior to each ballot. You should also fill in the numbers, the appropriate square next to the word jurisdictional or general, depending upon which ballot is being taken. The numbers on the ballot forms correspond with the ID numbers in the list of candidates you received. You will be told how many persons to vote on for each ballot. Particular person by drawing a line through the number of the ballot that corresponds with their ID number. You must also vote for the exact number of persons who are to be elected on a particular ballot. Voting for more persons or fewer persons will make your ballot invalid. Only lay members are allowed to write in candidates. And here's how you do that. You will find at the bottom of the ballot form marked, "For write-in votes, mark this oval." You fill in the oval completely. Then you write in the name or names of the persons you wish to vote for who have not been assigned an ID number at that time. When you give your ballot to the tellers, you need to tell them that it has a write-in vote on it so they can be kept separately because they will not run through the scanner. You have a write-in on your ballot form. Once your ballot has been collected, you may be seated. Our first ballot will be taken this afternoon shortly. After the first ballot, we may take subsequent ballots at any time, so it is very important that you be present in plenary session so you can vote. You can only cast your vote if you are present and seated within the bar of the conference at the time that the ballot is taken. So please listen carefully to the instructions for voting, and we can all help to make this election experience run smoothly for everyone. So, Bishop, this concludes the balloting instructions for this election. Let the voting begin.
Well, thank you, Amber. It's really a great. I see the microphone number 8.
And there's some back here too, Bishop.
Okay.
Judy Vosby, lay deaconess, Willerup United Methodist. I have a concern on my heart. I'm wondering if you would let me express it. Since you said we offer gracious space and hospitality.
All right, you speak it.
All right, my concern is that the laity don't even get to meet their delegates until tonight at the lay session, and it seems out of order to vote for them before we even meet them. And I'm just wondering, is there a way we can change that to tomorrow morning?
Okay, let me come back. Thank you. Any other? Yes, microphone 3, John.
John Lawson, Pewaukee, Gethsemane, United Methodist. I have a clarification question. If we could go back to the slide on the PowerPoint that lists the number of delegates to be elected.
Okay.
If that is possible.
All right, our technical team will work. Moment.
Well, let me ask my question while we're waiting for that. If I read that correctly, the slide indicated that we would be electing 3 reserved delegates.
4.
Well, then you've answered my question. The rule we adopted says 4.
It should be 4, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, microphone 2.
Andy Oren, licensed local pastor serving Milwaukee Bayview. Did I understand correctly that licensed local pastors who have completed course of study and been under appointment for 2 years or longer are eligible to vote for clergy delegates?
Yes.
I received a laity ballot in my packet. I'd like to get a clergy ballot.
If you would go to the registration desk right now and exchange it, that would be great.
Thank you.
That's a good clarification. All right, microphone 6, I will go. Yeah, Jane.
Jane Daniel, clergy, retired. You will notice on the numbers that are given to the lay persons wishing to be elected, number 3 is Paul Esser. We have received an email from Paul that states, "Sorry, after I told you I was withdrawing, I told the conference person I was not pursuing being a delegate. Sorry for the mix-up. I hope I don't get selected." Paul Esser is not running.
Okay, thank for that information. All right, any other? Let me offer to agenda team to answer for Judy's question. Podium.
I'd like to respond to Judy Vaspy's comment. This was something that was considered very seriously, and we realized with the agenda that we were going to have to take a ballot prior to the laity and clergy sessions. And while we do want to be as open to everyone, we considered with program and arrangements and the scheduling with agenda that everyone was given equal opportunity to submit their biographical information, and it is at least the expectation that everyone would have read and looked through that information. It is highly unlikely that there will be multiple elections on the first ballot, so that there is still time to get to know, to test with this first vote, to see who the people in the running are, and then to have some more conversation and to really take some time at laity session, clergy session, and after to get to know who the people are who are putting themselves up for the election this year. We understand this is not ideal, but this was the best way forward that we were able to come to.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for the committee, their response. Okay. The tellers, are you ready to distribute the ballot? They got the ballot. Okay. All right. Everybody has a ballot. You're right. So let me invite all of you. We're going to do clergy first and then laity. I know that you have already pencil and you're trying to going into, but just to hold a minute, let me offer prayer together and then we will, okay, microphone 5. Just a minute. All right, take time.
This is about my 45th annual conference to vote. I should have it down by now. But I have not been able to find the numbers that I should for the candidates in election. Where would I look for that?
All right, there's a pink color of the seat. See, even 40 years to learn. You're right. Yes, yes. Microphone 5, would you come here? All right, let's give each other the room and space and the generosity. Microphone 5.
Tessie Sherrill, lay member, Columbus United Methodist Church. I noticed on the list of lay people that we can vote on, Diane O'Dean is not included in the biography. Is it just my packet, or is she there somewhere?
She did not submit her materials in time, but indicated that she wanted to run as a candidate, so she will present tonight at the ladies' session.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the clarification. All right, are you ready to vote, right? So would you pray with me? Come, Holy Spirit, for the gift of counsel and discernment, so that we can discern about gift of wisdom to elect the servant leaders among your community leaders here. Give all delegate who will be elected, give love for your whole church, O God. A desire not only to serve you as now can, but also the determination to bring the unity to divided churches, that the world may more readily receive the gospel and find our manner of living it out, the way of peace and unity, O God. Through Christ, you are the head of the body and the church, and allow us to practice this solemn duty by your guidance. Amen. And I'm going to invite both lay and clergy are voting together, and then collection, we're going to do clergy first and then laity first. So that means I will ask to stand up when you're done. Don't just stand up. I will ask. Then you will respond with your ballot and stand up after voting, okay? Are you ready now? Okay. Vote now.
You are to vote for 3 people on this and mark it G1.
All right. G1, 3 delegate for the General Conference. Don't talk to each other. Talk to God. Let us give the gentle silence to the whole crowd, whole neighborhood. So let's not talk. And just to do your voting now. Thank you for your collaboration and cooperation. Mm-hmm. All right, those who are done, would you stand? Clergy, not the laity. Clergy portion, would you stand up?
And I would like to invite Teller Team 1 to come forward to collect the clergy ballots. And Teller Team 2, please gather over to the right with Carolyn. She has further instructions for you. Teller Team 1 is collecting clergy ballots at this time. Please remember to be seated after you hand in your ballot.
Ballot is collected. You can be seated. Those who are collected it already, then would you sit and you be seated, and then we will. There is a. All right. Those who stand is still not collected it? Okay, good. Way in the back too. Mm-hmm. All right. Where is it?
We have some ballots on this side that need to be collected, please.
All right, seems like it's done now, and thank you for clergy. And so give a little space now to laity, and those who are finished at your election, your voting, would you stand up, laity? Tellers. Okay, when your ballot is collected, then you may sit. All right, this is a kind of beginning, so please collaborate each other. Those who are, your ballot is picked it, and you may see it. We're still in action, so please. All right, everybody has picked it? All the ballot? Okay. All right, let me invite now. Voting is closed. So let me invite David Ogden that Board of Pension and Insurance and Equitable Compensation.
I'm sorry, I guess we're what passes for comic relief here. So, greetings. As the bishop said, I'm Dave Ogden. I'm the chair of the Joint Board of Pensions, Insurance, and Equitable Compensation. Up with me as well are, so you can get people in order, is Paul Johnson, who's the chair of the Insurance Committee, Steve Zikoff, who's the Conference Benefits Officer, Betty Meninga, who's the chair of the Pension Committee, and Lisa King, who is the Conference, I'll call her the treasurer, but I think her title's changed. Our full report's on the website. Those of you who wish can read it at your leisure. I've got a couple of quick comments, and then we'll do our action items. As many of you are aware, there was pension legislation passed at the last General Conference, and we passed some enabling legislation last year at the annual conference that has made changes to the clergy retirement program. Just to remind those of you who are clergy that the most significant change in order to maximize the amount of church-paid pension contribution, you also have to make a personal contribution to UMPIP that's at least 1% of your personal compensation. That requirement's been in place since the beginning of this year. There's still a noticeable number of pastors who have not started, so I would urge all of you to check to see where you are, and if you have questions or need begin that contribution, contact Steve Zikoff. Additional item, for those of you who are in HealthFlex, the program for our active participants, both you and your spouse must be able to take the health quotient between August 1st and September 30th of this year, or your 2015 deductible will be $250 higher or $500 higher per family. We'll be making a change in 2015 in the Medicare supplement coverage for our retirees. The reason for this change is that HealthFlex, our current carrier, will no longer be offering our present coverage in its form. We'll be switching to a new carrier, and there will be informational meetings around the state this October. There isn't any present change anticipated for actives in 2015, but with all the things going on with healthcare reform, as well as the continuing things that happens to our experience, our claims, the relatively high age of our group will continue to affect our costs and our coverage, and so consequently there may be changes evolving in the future. That's the overview. We have 4 action items. We had a 5th that was in the consent agenda. The first item is action item 8 on the workbook on page 4. It establishes the past service annuity rate for those who are covered by the pre-82 pension plan. The current rate in 2014 is $690 per year of service. The recommended rate for 2015 is $701, which would be a 1.6% increase. Bishop, I move action item 8.
All right, and action item number 8 is in front of you as a motion. Okay, not required a second. So is there any discussion? No discussions? Okay, are you ready to vote? All right, those in favor to adopt this action item number 8, would you raise your hands? Lower hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, no one, so motion is carried. Thank you.
Okay, next is action item 9, also on page 4. Note there was a printing error in this action item, that the last sentence that is titled Action Item 11, Resolution on the Return of Historical Documents, and so forth, the rest of that sentence should be struck. It was not part of our motion. Action Item 9 deals with minimum levels. The current minimum compensation levels are, in 2014, are $37,978 for elders, provisional members, and associate members, $33,426 for local pastors. The proposed amounts for 2015 are a 1.5% increase. It's the same as the most recent cost of living increase for the Social Security program. Bishop, I move action item 9.
All right, action item number 9 is in front of you after we deleted that last two praise, which is error. Okay, is there any discussion? All right, ready to vote? Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. Lower hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, none.
Next is action item 10, which is on pages 4 and 5. As it stated before, President, the Joint Board believes that it's the best interest for our group health plan participants that we continue with our current coverage through HealthFlex. However, because of the ongoing changes with healthcare reform, there is a possibility, which we consider low, that it may become more prudent for us and for our participants to move them into the federal insurance marketplace. What this motion does is provide a mechanism for us to make that kind of a decision without having to have a special session of the annual conference. We would consult with at least the cabinet and with the Council on Finance Administration before making any such move. We don't expect this to happen, but just want to have this as a contingency to avoid being stuck with either fixed in place until next annual conference or having to do a special session. Bishop, I move action item 10.
Okay, action item 10 in front of you. Is there any discussion? All right, microphone 8.
Bishop, I'm Lamar Gibson, Elkhorn. I have to admit I'm sort of uncomfortable with granting the board the permission to select persons without having some idea how that process is going to look. So I'm wondering if there could be some consideration of at least having the suggested process to be at least sent out so that it could be reviewed for comment. And that would give me a greater comfort level with what you're proposing. Thank you.
So this is just to, how can we take that as a, just a comment. All right, thank you, Lamar. Any more discussion? Okay, are you ready to vote? All right, those in favor to adopt this action item, would you raise your hand? Lower hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. Lower hand. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Action item 11 is on pages 5 through 7. For a number of years, the Joint Board has been required to present what are called funding plans to the General Board of Pensions and Health Insurance. These funding plans indicate how we will pay for and health insurance benefits and other benefits of the conference that the conference offers. More recently, the specifics of those plans has been broadened somewhat and more defined. What you see in the booklet follows the form that has been laid out for us by the General Board of Pensions and describes the various sources, our liabilities and various sources of funds we'll use to pay for them. If you have any specific questions about this or about the detailed calculations behind it, I'd be happy to talk to you, or so would Steve Zikoff, although they'd probably be better placed offline unless you have a general question. Bishop, I move action item 11.
All right, action item 11 in front of you. Is there any discussion? All right, none. Are you ready to vote? Okay. Those in favor to adopt this action item 11, raise your hand. Lower hand. Those opposed, raise your hand. And none. All right, motion is carried.
Bishop, that completes our report. I move it in its entirety.
Well, thank you so much for this whole and your leadership and the whole committee, and thank you. Let us give our hands to them and their hard work. Let us move to Disciple Leadership Council and Circuit Point O presentation at this moment. Jason.
Thank you, Bishop. Hello. My name is Jason Mankey, and I am the chair of the Discipleship Leadership Council, and it is my privilege to do so. The Discipleship Leadership Council and all of its boards and resource teams have been hard at work over the past year as we strive to imagine Wisconsin anew. One of our primary goals is to help local congregations have the tools and the resources they need to excel in ministry. And so we're thrilled to be offering this Monday our third annual Learning Day. Thanks. Each and every person who participates will receive materials that you can use back in your local congregations to forward your ministry. And let me say this, if you haven't signed up, come. We want you there. We have lots of people already signed up. Make us run out of handouts. We'd love it. More than that, there have been over 20 laity and clergy equipped to go to circuits and congregations throughout our conference to teach them how to begin small group ministries. Now, these small group ministries aren't meant to be social clubs or committees or classes, but small groups aimed at transformation. This October and November, we'll be partnering with Dan Dick and Don Greer to provide resources and training at our Circuit 2.0 open launch events. As we look forward, our goal is also to produce printed resources in the areas of spirituality, worship, missions, children's, youth, adult, and older adult, lifelong learning, leadership technology, and resources for the small membership church to help us revitalize our congregations and ministry. Then, in 2016, we will unveil another stewardship campaign that can be used in all of our local congregations. We are hard at work sowing the seed, knowing that by the grace of God, we will have much to harvest across the conference as we imagine Wisconsin anew. Jason.
Again, I'm Dan Dick. I have the privilege of serving as Director of Connectional Ministries. And with all due respect, Bishop Jung, I have to say I think I have the best job in the conference. I love this job. I get to work with men and women, children, youth, adults, at the local church level, in the circuits, in the districts, at the conference level, to work and plan with the boards and agencies, the resource teams. I have the privilege of serving on our cabinet and working with a dedicated and excellent staff at Sun Prairie. We are committed, and one of the reasons why Jason and Don and I are here together is to really be kind of a public witness that we are working together. The key word is alignment. How are we aligning all of our energy, all of our time, all of our material resources so that we can not just imagine Wisconsin anew, but we can live into a new future that God is calling us to create together? And so we are looking constantly at what it means as United Methodists to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. We're looking as a conference at what it means to live into a vision of living the fruit of the Spirit so that each and every one of our congregations becomes known as a center of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And how do we celebrate our multicultural and intercultural life together as we turn our churches around and revitalize and renew our existing ministries, as we launch new ministry for new people in new locations, as we commit to ministries of peace and justice in all of our settings, rural, urban, suburban, wherever we are? And how can we nourish both body and soul through soul food throughout Wisconsin Conference? All of our boards, all of our agencies, all of our teams are working together to create a plan and a process for resourcing, for training, and support. And while we do not have a motion or an action item to present to you today, we do want to reemphasize that there is a new day coming in the Wisconsin Annual Conference, that this fall we will be not just reimagining, but relaunching our circuit ministries and our conference-wide resources. And so I invite Don to come up and share again with you a little bit about Circuit 2.0, where a lot of our energy, a lot of our time, and we believe a lot of fruit will be produced as we move forward.
Hi, I'm Don Greer, Coordinator of Circuit Ministries. Those of you who attended the Clergy Days Apart this spring, and those of you who attended the Laity Convocation this spring, know that I have a 2-hour presentation.
So we can give you 2 hours today.
I think this one can be 2 minutes. How do we imagine Wisconsin anew? Circuit Ministry 2.0 will help us work together in the creative tension between things as they are and things as they could be. Circuit Ministry 2.0 is the name we are using for the relaunch of circuits with strategic design changes, including new training and more support to help us on a local level anew. Strategic design changes include the end of using circuits for administrative functions that are unrelated to their purpose of creating new ministry with context. Strategic design changes also include a unique role for laity to work together in laity circuit teams to imagine new ministry options, and a narrowed focus for the clergy to work on congregational vitality, leadership development for community engagement, and the possibility of developing a team approach in their ministries. The strategic design changes collaboration between clergy and laity circuit teams to determine which ideas can be worked on and what collaborations might exist and might be best. The strategic design change also includes a handoff between circuits and local congregations so that all new ministry efforts will be embedded in the life of local congregations. And the strategic design change includes supportive coaching. I believe that healthy and vital circuits will lead to more healthy and vital churches. Circuits can be the seedbed for revitalization of existing congregations as they imagine new ways to be in ministry with more people. Circuit Ministry 2.0 is intended to help us sow the seeds of new growth and work together in new ways in the creative tension between the status quo and the church that God is calling us to be. There will be 8 regional district launch events, as you have indicated on a brochure in your packet. 8 regional launch events to help us think about envisioning congregations as discipleship systems. Discipleship systems move people into maturity in faith and the full practice of seeking, engaging, equipping, and deploying to make more disciples for Jesus Christ. Part of that training will involve how to do community research and how to use community research to develop new ministry. Beyond that, circuits will be individually consulted with for any needed resizing, and then locally trained in the context of their own mission field. Training will be adapted to the local context and take place when there is readiness. Creativity can be both interesting and fun, and we hope to have lots of it this year as we begin to implement Circuit Ministry 2.0. I look forward to a new season of creativity this year in Wisconsin. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, that report. And let us give our hands to them. Don Greer visited all the circuits in current existing circuits. And also he traveled with me 330 churches so far. In all the way, of course, without him, I cannot do that. So he's a driver, timekeeper, photographer, and in all different roles that he did it. And this whole conversation about Circuit Ministry 2.0 is practically to lift us up into the really turnaround movement for the Wisconsin. We hope that we can reaching it out to new people, young people, diverse people. I know that I am really committed in myself, but I say I love this church. Oh, would you say that we love this church? So that we can work together hard so that the laity be a central role to making disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. And then we as a clergy continually equipping ministers to do ministry together. And I know that this is a dream that we have together in this conference. It is a God's gift. And it is a commitment we needed. It is that our prayerful anticipation, that really hard prayer life that is required. And I am very thankful for that discipleship leadership team and Dan and Don and all of them in this fall from the summer. And they will be travel around and throughout the conference will offer training, the leadership, equipping. That's our life together. I hope that we can give this reason. Can we offer the glory to God in our hands to each other? Amen. Our ballot has resulted it, or it's not yet? Not till after supper. Anytime we can announce. Okay. All right. Seems like, are you comfortable with this setting? Would you say yes? I know it's changed it. I was in the other side last year, and now in this side. I hope that every member of this conference feel comfortable in your sitting. Are you all right? Okay. Would you bless that your neighbor to each other, the hand? Would you kind of shaking hand to each other? Can you this moment for that? and welcoming each other. And yes. All right. Great. You are beautiful people. You are beautiful people. All right, laughter is fine, yes. You're beautiful people. Actually, today we have a birthday among us, and this is a 17th birthday of Anna Hunter, is our youth delegate. Where are you, Anna? Are you there? All right. Well, congratulations. Happy birthday. Do we have any other happy birthday today? From this great, would you stand up for the... All right, may we sing together happy birthday song for three of them together. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Anna and all. Happy birthday to you. Thank you again for the conference. You received me as a presider again, and this is the second year. I know that always I'm nervous. I hope that I can be a good steward for you. And I hope that I can bring some smile and some happiness to you. I hope that I can deliver some blessedness together in this community. This is my prayer for you. Hopefully, because you are here, you are happier. Because we are here, the world will receive hope. Because we are here, we're going to save the souls together with the passion and mightiness. Because we are here, our Christ, Jesus Christ, be praised it and lifted up. Would you pray with me? Gracious and loving God, it is so great that it is first day, that 45th annual conference we held it. In your hands we trust. In your mighty, mighty blessing that we yearning for. Yes, we trust you, O God. So make us a good follower so that we can make a difference in this broken word. And we can restore the hope by your name in everywhere we go. Give us this evening that recess for us and have a good fellowship in the dinner time and in all the fellowship. And so we may join back so that we can conduct the business, but we offer glory to you. In the name of Jesus. Amen. The dinner recess.